My precious soul, listen carefully. Your name was whispered in a place of darkness last night, and heaven did not ignore it. This was not imagination. This was not coincidence. While you were resting, while you thought nothing unusual was happening, your name traveled through an unseen atmosphere. It was spoken with intent. It was spoken with motive. And the moment it was released, God saw it. Yes, God saw it. There are conversations that happen in rooms you have never entered. There are intentions formed in shadows you never walked through. And last night, something shifted. Your name became the center of a discussion you were never meant to hear. But heaven heard it. And now this message has reached you because Archangel Michael has been instructed to deliver a final alert. This is not to frighten you. This is to awaken you. There are seasons in life when silence is protection. And there are seasons when silence becomes permission. Right now, you are standing at the edge of a decision that feels small but carries weight. You may think you are just going through an ordinary phase, feeling a little pressure, sensing something unusual in the air, noticing subtle tension around you. But what you are sensing is real. Something attempted to position itself against your peace. And before you ask, no, this is not about panic. It is about awareness. Archangel Michael stands as a defender in moments exactly like this. When names are spoken in hidden spaces, when intentions are formed without your knowledge, heaven dispatches protection. But here is the part that cannot be ignored. Protection must be received. You were not shown this message by accident. The title alone carried weight because it pierced through distraction. Your name was whispered in a place of darkness last night. God saw it. This sentence stirred something in you. It felt specific, personal, almost uncomfortable. That reaction was not random. It was confirmation. There are individuals who smile in daylight yet process envy in private. There are voices that praise publicly but question privately. And when your progress began to accelerate, when your light started becoming more visible, attention followed. Light always attracts attention. The darkness does not shout first. It whispers. And last night, a whisper carried your name. But here is what they did not account for. Every whisper that travels in darkness must pass through the awareness of God. Nothing bypasses Him. Nothing slips through unseen. And the moment your name was spoken, it was recorded, not for your destruction, but for your defense. Archangel Michael has been assigned to stand at the threshold of what was planned. However, this message carries a warning. If you dismiss this alert as exaggeration, if you scroll away and treat this as just another video, you may remain unaware of the spiritual atmosphere forming around you. And what comes next will not be stopped, not because heaven lacks power, but because you chose not to align with it. Alignment is everything. There is a decision forming in your heart right now. You have been feeling nudged to pray differently, to guard your words, to step back from something that once felt harmless. That nudge is not random. It is guidance. Something that seemed small has been slowly gaining influence. A habit, a relationship dynamic, a pattern of doubt. And when your name was whispered, it was attached to that open space. But here is the powerful truth. This is a final alert, not a final outcome. Nothing hath been sealed. Heaven moves when you respond. Archangel Michael does not intervene randomly. He responds to divine instruction. And divine instruction often waits for human agreement. That is why this moment matters. This is not about fear. It is about partnership with heaven. Ask yourself honestly, have you felt spiritually distracted lately? Have you delayed something you once felt called to do? Have you sensed unusual resistance when trying to move forward? These are not accidents. The whisper last night was connected to timing. Someone believed this was a perfect moment to interfere with your next step. But what they did not realize is that heaven had already marked this week as significant for you. You are on the verge of a shift. And whenever a shift approaches, resistance increases. Archangel Michael is not announcing defeat. He is announcing readiness. The sword of discernment has already been drawn. Protection is already positioned, but your awareness activates it. This message reaching you right now is the interruption of a plan you never saw forming. Take a breath. You are not powerless. You are not exposed. You are not alone. But you must not ignore this. Over the next few hours, pay attention to your thoughts. Notice what tries to create sudden doubt. Observe who reaches out unexpectedly. Be mindful of conversations that subtly attempt to lower your confidence. None of this is random. This is the moment to stand still internally and say, God, I align with your protection. Say it quietly if you must. Because the whisper that carried your name last night did not carry authority. Only God does. And Archangel Michael stands ready, not to create fear, but to enforce divine boundaries around your life. Something was attempted. Something was seen. And something is now being stopped, but your agreement seals it. This is the final alert before the atmosphere shifts completely. Will you receive it? Beloved warrior of light, something deeper is unfolding, and this is where clarity becomes crucial. Since hearing that your name was whispered in a place of darkness, you may have felt a stirring inside your chest. Not fear, but awareness. Not panic, but alertness. That is not coincidence. When heaven exposes a hidden movement, it is not to alarm you. It is to position you correctly. Archangel Michael does not arrive with unnecessary noise. He arrives with precision. And right now, precision matters. There are moments when a person becomes a target not because they are weak, but because they are advancing. You have crossed into a season where your growth is visible. Your decisions are maturing. Your discernment is sharpening. And when someone senses that they are losing influence over you, they may respond in silence rather than confrontation. That silence can carry intention. That intention can form whispers. And those whispers can attempt to shape an outcome. But here is what you must understand. Whispers have no authority unless you unknowingly cooperate with them. This is why your thoughts over the next few days are important. If you suddenly feel discouraged without clear reason, question it. If old insecurities attempt to resurface, observe them. If you notice a strange pull toward something you already outgrew, pause before responding. Darkness does not always attack directly. Sometimes it suggests. Sometimes it reminds you of who you used to be, hoping you will step backward voluntarily. Archangel Michael's role in this hour is defensive and strategic. He stands at the edge of your obedience. He does not force you forward, but he fortifies the path when you choose it. That is why this message feels urgent, because timing is involved. Something is scheduled in your life that requires you to be spiritually alert, not emotionally distracted. Have you noticed subtle tension in conversations lately? A slight shift in someone's tone? An unusual delay in something that should have moved smoothly? These are not reasons to accuse anyone. They are signals to strengthen your focus. The whisper that carried your name was not about open conflict. It was about subtle interference. And subtle interference only works when you underestimate it. You are being asked to rise in awareness, not in suspicion. There is a difference. Suspicion creates paranoia. Awareness creates protection. Archangel Michael operates in awareness. He sees movement before it becomes manifestation. And when he sends an alert, it is because heaven intends to prevent escalation. But prevention requires participation. This is where your voice matters. Speak peace over your space. Speak clarity over your mind. Speak confidence over your calling. The moment your name was whispered, heaven countered it with declaration. Now you must echo that declaration in your own life. There is power in agreement. If this message resonates deeply, if something inside you confirms that this is timely, then do not stay silent. Let your agreement be visible. Like this video as a sign that you receive divine protection. Share it with someone who has also been feeling unusual spiritual pressure. Comment below with a simple declaration of faith, because when you put words to your agreement, you activate boldness. And subscribe to this channel if you have not already, because these alerts are not random uploads. They are strategic messages for those who are spiritually positioned. When you hype this message and engage with it, you are not just supporting a channel. You are amplifying a warning that may protect someone else tonight. And listen carefully to this next truth. The whisper last night was not only about opposition. It was also about recognition. Someone acknowledged your influence. Someone noticed that you are not as easily manipulated as before. Someone realized that you are stepping into independence. And that realization unsettled them. Growth often disturbs those who benefited from your immaturity. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. Archangel Michael stands beside those who choose spiritual maturity over emotional approval. And that is the crossroad you are approaching. There will be an opportunity soon, an invitation, a conversation, or a decision that tests whether you have truly absorbed this alert. When that moment arrives, you will remember these words. You will sense the atmosphere shift, and you will choose wisely. This is not about living in fear of hidden whispers. It is about walking confidently, knowing that nothing spoken in darkness overrides what God declares in light. You are not being hunted. You are being guarded. But guardianship functions best when the protected remain conscious. There is more you need to understand about why this happened last night and what it connects to. The next revelation ties directly to something from your past that was never fully closed. And when you see it clearly, everything will align. Hold steady, because what is about to be uncovered will explain the timing of this alert in a way you did not expect. Chosen one. The reason your name was whispered last night is connected to something you thought was finished. There is a chapter in your past that never truly received closure. You walked away. You moved forward. You convinced yourself it no longer had influence over you. But in the unseen realm, unresolved access points remain open until they are intentionally sealed. And the whisper that carried your name was not random. It was drawn toward that open space. This is why the timing feels strange. You have recently been on the edge of elevation. A new opportunity forming. A clearer mindset emerging. A deeper hunger for purpose awakening inside you. And whenever growth reaches a threshold, anything unclosed from the past will attempt one final pull. Not because it is stronger than you, but because it senses it is losing relevance. Archangel Michael does not expose these things to shame you. He exposes them to fortify you. There was a moment in your history where you tolerated less than you deserved. A relationship where your voice was smaller than your value. A decision made under pressure instead of peace. You survived it. You even grew from it. But part of your confidence remained entangled with that memory. And last night, when your name was whispered, it was attached to that former version of you. The whisper was not about who you are now. It was about who you used to be. Darkness always references outdated identities. It tries to call you by former insecurities. It tries to provoke reactions that no longer align with your growth. But heaven addresses you by your current authority, not your past weakness. This is the final alert because the cycle is attempting to repeat itself in a slightly different form. Look closely at your present environment. Is there a similar pattern reappearing? A personality that mirrors someone from before? A situation that feels familiar but slightly disguised? This is not coincidence. Patterns return to test whether you have truly evolved. And this time, the outcome must be different. Archangel Michael stands at the edge of repetition, preventing history from reclaiming territory in your life. But prevention requires your decision to close what was left open. Closure is not about confrontation. It is about internal authority. You do not need to call anyone. You do not need to argue. You do not need dramatic action. What you need is a clear declaration within yourself that the old version of you no longer has access to your present destiny. Because here is the truth. The whisper last night was an attempt to activate your former self. If you respond from your current strength, the whisper dissolves. If you react from old insecurity, the cycle restarts. This is why this alert matters so deeply. There is something sacred forming ahead of you. A door that requires maturity. A connection that requires emotional clarity. A breakthrough that requires disciplined thinking. And anything unresolved from your past cannot be allowed to enter that space. Archangel Michael is not only defending you from external intentions, he is guarding your transformation. Feel the weight of that. You are not simply being protected from people. You are being protected from reverting. The atmosphere shifted last night because your growth became undeniable. The whisper was an attempt to challenge it, but heaven responded instantly. And now this message has reached you before the cycle could complete. Take a quiet moment after hearing this. Reflect on the version of you that once accepted less. See them clearly. Thank them for surviving. And then release them. Because you cannot step into your next season carrying an expired identity. This is the turning point. Say within yourself, I am no longer available for repetition. Archangel Michael's presence increases where clarity is spoken. His defense strengthens where identity is secured. And the whisper that once sought to pull you backward now becomes the evidence of how far you have come. Do not underestimate the significance of this revelation. Many ignore final alerts and later wonder why old cycles return. But you were warned in advance. This is mercy. If this message confirms something deep inside you, respond in agreement. Type I close the OLD door in the comments if this is speaking directly to your spirit. Blessing code 4449 has just been released over those who refuse repetition and choose elevation. Now hear this as a sacred extension of what you just received. The same God who exposed the whisper is inviting you into partnership. When you sow into the spreading of His word, you become part of the defense system that protects others from unseen whispers. Scripture declares, I will rebuke the devourer for your sake, and that promise is alive right now. When you respond through super thanks, membership, or a PayPal seed found in the description, you are not funding a platform. You are lighting torches in dark corridors where other names are being whispered. I feel led to say this. As you act, heaven moves. This is a prophetic moment to plant into fertile ground. Every seed becomes a shield. Every offering becomes oil that keeps this warning fire burning. Obey the nudge. Activate your support now and watch how God seals what concerns you. Faithful one, now that the old door has been identified, something deeper must be understood about the whisper itself. Not every whisper is spoken by someone you expect. Sometimes it is not even a specific person. Sometimes it is an atmosphere created by accumulated thoughts, unresolved tension, and silent jealousy. Energy builds in places where comparison is allowed to grow unchecked. And when your life begins to shift upward, that atmosphere looks for a name to attach itself to. Last night, you attached to yours. But do not misunderstand this. You are not surrounded by enemies. You are surrounded by watchers. And watchers become whisperers when they cannot access what you are becoming. There are individuals observing your transformation quietly. They notice your discipline. They notice your detachment from drama. They notice how you no longer react the same way. And while some admire it, others feel threatened by it. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your growth reflects what they have delayed in themselves. Archangel Michael's involvement in this moment is not accidental. He is not assigned to minor disturbances. He is assigned to threshold seasons. And you are at a threshold. A threshold is the space between who you were and who you are becoming. It is fragile because it requires balance. You cannot lean too far backward into comfort. You cannot rush too far forward into pride. You must stand steady. And that is exactly where interference tries to happen. A whisper was an attempt to destabilize your footing. Have you noticed an unusual internal battle recently? Moments where confidence and doubt seem to alternate quickly. One day you feel strong, the next day uncertain. That fluctuation is not random. When your name was whispered, it carried suggestion, not command. Suggestion. Suggestion says, maybe you are not ready. Suggestion says, maybe this opportunity is too big. Suggestion says, maybe you should wait. But heaven says something different. Heaven says you were prepared long before you realized it. Archangel Michael does not guard those who are unqualified. He guards those who are chosen for responsibility. And responsibility is increasing in your life. That is why subtle pressure has been intensifying. This next season requires clarity in your speech. Words matter more than ever right now. What you declare about yourself shapes the atmosphere around you. If you echo the whisper, you strengthen it. If you contradict it with faith, you weaken it. Speak carefully. There is also something else you must understand. The whisper was timed around a decision you are about to make. A practical decision. Something related to work, partnership, relocation, or commitment. It may not appear spiritual on the surface, but it carries long-term impact. And the interference is subtle because it wants you to second-guess clarity. Pause before you decide anything significant this week. Pray first. Sit in stillness. Let your emotions settle before responding to pressure. Archangel Michael fortifies calm decisions, not rushed reactions. This is not about suspicion toward others. It is about discipline within yourself. Someone around you may test your boundary soon. Not aggressively, not obviously, but through small requests that stretch your limits. Pay attention to how your body reacts. If peace leaves, that is your signal. Peace is your internal alarm system. The whisper could not override God's awareness. And it cannot override your discernment unless you silence it. You are more intuitive than you realize. An instinct you sometimes dismiss is sharpened right now. Use it. There is protection over your physical space as well. If you have felt prompted to reorganize your room, clear clutter, or rearrange your environment, follow through. Physical order strengthens mental clarity. Darkness prefers chaos. Light prefers alignment. This is a week of alignment. Archangel Michael stands not only as defender but as stabilizer. His presence represents unwavering focus, and focus is what will carry you through this threshold untouched. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being noticed because you are advancing. Let that truth settle. The whisper last night has already lost momentum. The exposure weakened it. Awareness dissolved half its influence. Your agreement with heaven dissolved the rest. What remains now is simply your continued discipline. Guard your energy. Guard your schedule. Guard your thoughts. Something significant is unfolding ahead, something that requires you steady, clear, and unshaken. And the reason the whisper came now is because it sensed acceleration. But acceleration under divine covering cannot be stopped. The threshold you are standing on is about to open fully. And when it does, you will understand why this alert was necessary. Stay centered. The next revelation will uncover what this new season actually contains, and why the whisper was afraid of it. Steady heart. What is coming toward you is not small, and that is why the whisper tried to move first. There is a shift forming that will reposition you in a way others did not anticipate. It is not necessarily public fame or dramatic spotlight. It is influence. Quiet, stable, undeniable influence. The kind that changes rooms when you enter. The kind that alters decisions without you forcing anything. And influence always attracts resistance before it manifests fully. The whisper last night was not reacting to who you are today. It was reacting to who you are about to become. You have been in preparation longer than you realize. The delays you once resented were training. The disappointments that confused you were refinement. The closed doors that frustrated you were protection. And now, the alignment of timing is almost complete. Archangel Michael's presence signals that the next stage is not only blessing but responsibility. Protection increases when responsibility increases. That is a spiritual law. Think back over the last few months. Have you noticed patterns breaking? Habits losing their grip? Emotional triggers no longer controlling you the same way? That was not accidental growth. That was intentional molding. You were being shaped for stability. Because what is ahead requires stability. There is an opportunity approaching that will test whether you truly trust your evolution. It may look ordinary at first. A conversation, an invitation, an offer. But beneath the surface, it carries long-term consequence. And this is where the whisper hoped to weaken your clarity, so that when the opportunity appears, you would hesitate. Hesitation is costly at thresholds. Archangel Michael does not remove your free will. He strengthens your courage, and courage will be necessary very soon. You will need to say yes without overthinking, or you will need to say no without guilt. Either way, decisiveness is key. The whisper attempted to stir internal noise so you would doubt your readiness. But readiness is not about feeling perfectly confident. It is about moving in alignment even when emotion fluctuates. There is also something deeply personal connected to this new season. A restoration of self-respect, a strengthening of boundaries, a healthy dynamic in how you relate to others. You will notice that you no longer chase approval the way you once did. You will no longer explain yourself excessively. You will stand firmer, speak clearer, and withdraw quicker when peace is disturbed. This transformation unsettles those who relied on your previous softness. You not confuse kindness with compliance. You are still compassionate. You are still generous. But you are no longer available for manipulation. And that internal shift is part of the elevation. The whisper sensed that your tolerance for dysfunction has expired. Archangel Michael stands beside those who enforce divine order in their personal lives. Order invites favor. Chaos invites confusion. You are stepping into order. Something else is important to understand. A new influence forming around you will extend beyond your immediate circle. Your words will begin to carry more weight. People will seek your opinion. Some will ask for guidance. Others will simply observe and imitate quietly. That level of influence requires integrity. This is why discipline in small decisions matters right now. The whisper hoped to tempt you into minor compromises, subtle shortcuts, small reactions, emotional outbursts, because even minor missteps can delay major assignments. But you were warned in advance. The atmosphere has shifted since the exposure. There's greater clarity now. If you pay attention, you will notice an unusual calm settling over situations that once felt tense. That is confirmation that protection is active. Still, remain alert. There may be one final attempt to distract you before the opportunity appears. It could come in the form of sudden drama, unexpected news, or someone revisiting a closed subject. Do not engage impulsively. Silence can be strength. Distance can be wisdom. Archangel Michael does not fight unnecessary battles. He enforces boundaries where obedience stands firm. You are closer than you think. The whisper was a reaction to acceleration, and acceleration is still happening. The new season carries elevation in stability, clarity, and influence. You will not need to prove yourself. Your presence will speak. Let this settle deeply. You were never meant to remain where you started. Growth was inevitable, and the whisper only confirmed that movement has been detected. Stay disciplined. Stay grounded. Stay aware. Because what is about to unfold will reveal why heaven intervened so quickly when your name was spoken. And when it arrives, you will recognize it immediately, not as coincidence, but as confirmation. Brave soul, this is where the intensity sharpens, because what approaches you now will require full awareness. Since the whisper was exposed and the threshold identified, the atmosphere around you has been adjusting. You may not see dramatic signs, but internally something has stabilized. That stabilization is preparation. The window for distraction is narrowing. And when distraction fails, pressure sometimes increases briefly before it dissolves completely. You might notice small irritations rising unexpectedly, minor misunderstandings, sudden impatience from others, delays that test your mood. These are not major attacks. They are temperature checks. The whisper that carried your name is searching for reaction. It is looking for emotional cracks to slip through. Do not give it that access. Archangel Michael stands where discipline stands. When you control your responses, you strengthen your covering. Self-control right now is more powerful than confrontation. Silence in the right moment is stronger than a clever reply. There is something specific unfolding behind the scenes. A door is aligning that connects to long-term stability. This could relate to your career path, your financial direction, or a meaningful partnership. It is not random growth. It is structured advancement. Structured advancement threatens chaotic influence. That is why tension briefly rises before order settles. You must not misinterpret temporary discomfort as a sign to retreat. This is where many people miss their breakthrough. They sense resistance and assume they are moving in the wrong direction. But resistance often confirms you are exactly where you need to be. Think carefully about this. The whisper last night was an attempt to create doubt before the door appeared. Doubt delays movement. Delay weakens momentum. Momentum lost is harder to rebuild. That was the strategy. But you were alerted in advance. Have you noticed how certain thoughts no longer feel as convincing? Doubts that once sounded loud now seem faint. That is not imagination. Exposure weakens suggestion. When light touches a whisper, it loses authority. Still, remain intentional. Guard your mornings. The first thoughts you allow to shape your day will determine your emotional direction. Start with clarity. Speak alignment over your life. Even if your voice feels quiet, consistency builds strength. There is also a relational shift forming. Someone who underestimated you is beginning to reevaluate. Someone who once dismissed your growth is noticing consistency. This could lead to reconciliation or it could lead to distance. Either way, your response must reflect maturity. You are no longer reacting from insecurity. Archangel Michael's role here is not only defensive but directional. He strengthens forward motion. If you feel nudged to take initiative soon, trust it. If you feel prompted to decline something that feels slightly off, honor that instinct. Discernment is heightened for a reason. And let this be clear, this is not a season to isolate in fear. It is a season to move wisely. Continue showing up. Continue building. Continue playing. A whisper failed to stop your progression. Now it may attempt to exhaust you. Do not overextend yourself. Rest intentionally. Protect your energy. Not everyone deserves access to your time. Strategic focus is your ally. If this message is clarifying something you have been sensing but could not explain, do not keep it to yourself. Like this video as a declaration that you are choosing discipline over distraction. Share it with someone who needs encouragement at their own threshold. Comment your agreement below because your voice strengthens your resolve. Subscribe if you have not yet, so you remain connected to these timely alerts. When you engage, you amplify protection not just for yourself but for others navigating unseen tension. And understand this clearly. What is coming will not require you to fight for validation. It will position you naturally. The door aligning ahead carries confirmation built into it. You will recognize it by the peace that surrounds it, not by pressure. Before that door fully opens, expect one more moment of testing. It will not be dramatic. It may even seem small. But your response will determine how smoothly you step through the threshold. Archangel Michael is already positioned ahead of you. The whisper was loud for a moment, but it was never powerful. Stay steady. The next revelation will expose what this open door truly represents, and why it carries consequences beyond what you currently see. Watchful one, the door that has been forming is closer now, and this is where everything connects. The whisper, the tension, the subtle testing, the internal stabilization, all of it has been leading to a defining moment. Not a loud public event, but a private decision that will shift your trajectory. You will either step fully into alignment, or you will delay yourself by entertaining what no longer belongs in your future. The reason the whisper carried urgency is because the window for interference is closing. There is a divine rhythm to timing. When your preparation meets opportunity, acceleration happens quickly. And acceleration makes those who move slowly uncomfortable. Someone in your environment senses that you are about to outgrow their influence permanently. They may not consciously admit it, but internally they feel the shift. And when people feel loss of control, they react in subtle ways. You may notice increased friendliness from someone who once kept distance, or unexpected criticism from someone who used to be neutral. These fluctuations are not random. They are responses to your movement. But do not let external reactions distract you from internal clarity. Archangel Michael did not engage in emotional battles. He enforces spiritual order. And spiritual order requires you to recognize when something is a distraction disguised as urgency. There is a conversation approaching. It will appear casual, but it carries weight. It could involve negotiation, explanation, or decision-making. Pay attention to tone more than words. Peace will signal correctness. Pressure will signal caution. The whisper attempted to weaken your discernment before this moment. But you have been prepared. Have you felt a strange calm recently, even in situations that once overwhelmed you? That calm is not apathy. It is maturity. You are no longer easily shaken. That stability is what qualifies you for the door ahead. And this door is not temporary. It leads into a season of increased responsibility and influence. It may involve leadership in subtle ways. More people observing you. More expectations placed on your consistency. But with it comes greater freedom. Freedom from old patterns. Freedom from emotional dependency. Freedom from constantly proving yourself. This freedom is what the whisper feared. Because when you are free internally, manipulation loses power. There is also a financial component connected to this new season. Not necessarily sudden wealth, but structured improvement. Better management. Smarter decisions. Clear priorities. Financial stability often follows emotional discipline, and you have been developing both. Archangel Michael's involvement confirms that this is not a random life adjustment. It is a divinely supervised transition. However, there is something you must guard carefully in the coming days: your reactions to provocation. They may question your choice. They may subtly remind you of your past. They may attempt to reintroduce doubt. Do not defend yourself aggressively. Calm certainty is stronger than emotional explanation. The whisper failed because it lacked authority. But if you respond emotionally to provocation, you temporarily give it volume. Stay centered. Speak less. Observe more. This is also a time to review your commitments. Are there obligations you have outgrown? Responsibilities that drain more than they build? Consider whether adjustment is necessary. The new season requires space. Archangel Michael guards transitions, but you must release what no longer fits. There is a deep truth forming beneath all of this. You are being trusted with more. And trust from heaven is not casual. It follows endurance. It follows testing. It follows moments where you chose integrity when compromise was easier. The whisper was the final attempt to measure whether you would revert under subtle pressure. You did not. Now the door stands ready. You will recognize it by clarity rather than confusion. It will not require you to betray your growth. It will align with the discipline you have developed. And when you step through it, you will look back at this warning and understand why it was necessary. Stay alert. Stay disciplined. Stay grounded. The next revelation will uncover something even deeper: the spiritual authority attached to this transition and why it extends beyond just your personal benefit. Anointed soul, what is unfolding now goes beyond personal success. This transition carries spiritual authority, and that is why the whisper was so urgent. There are seasons where growth benefits only you, and then there are seasons where your elevation shifts the atmosphere for others. You are entering the second kind. The door ahead is not simply about opportunity. It is about positioning. When you step into this next place, your presence will begin to disrupt cycles around you. Conversations will change because you are in the room. Decisions will shift because your perspective carries weight. Even silence will communicate strength. That level of influence threatens old structures. The whisper last night was not only concerned about your progress, it was concerned about the ripple effect of your progress. Because when one person breaks a cycle, others are forced to confront their own stagnation. Archangel Michael's involvement confirms that this is not accidental momentum. You are being positioned as a stabilizing force. Where confusion once ruled, clarity will now follow. Where compromise was normal, conviction will rise. Where fear controlled choices, courage will begin to surface. And some people will welcome this. Others will resist it quietly. Do not internalize their discomfort. When light intensifies, shadows become more visible. That does not mean the light is wrong. It means exposure is happening. You must not dim yourself to maintain artificial harmony. The spiritual authority attached to this season comes with responsibility. Your words must remain measured. Your reactions must remain disciplined. Your integrity must remain intact. Influence without character collapses, but influence grounded in discipline expands naturally. There is something significant about your voice in this new season. You will find yourself speaking less but impacting more. Advice you give casually will stay with people longer than you realize. Encouragement you offer will land deeper than before. This is not coincidence. It is authorization. The whisper attempted to weaken your confidence before this authorization fully activated. Because once you are fully aware of your authority, manipulation cannot touch you. Have you noticed that certain environments feel different lately? Rooms that once felt draining now feel manageable. Conversations that once intimidated you now feel neutral. That shift is internal authority rising. Archangel Michael strengthens those who stand in rightful alignment. He does not fight battles for those who seek chaos. He reinforces those who pursue order. And here is the deeper truth. Your transition is not only for you. Someone close to you will draw courage from watching your consistency. Someone observing quietly will make a healthier decision because they saw you refuse compromise. Someone struggling silently will find strength because your example exposed their own potential. This is ripple authority. But ripple authority requires humility. Do not let recognition inflate ego. Stay grounded. Stay teachable. Stay reflective. There may also be increased spiritual sensitivity in the coming days. Vivid dreams. Strong intuition. Sudden clarity about people's motives. Do not dismiss these experiences. Discernment is sharpening because your environment is expanding. The whisper that carried your name has lost access, but influence attracts attention. It is not something to fear, it is something to steward carefully. You are not being elevated to dominate. You are being elevated to stabilize. There is a difference. The door ahead may require boldness. It may ask you to step forward publicly in a way you have hesitated before. If that moment comes, remember this alert. You were warned not because you were in danger, but because you were valuable. Archangel Michael stands behind those who move with divine backing. You are not stepping forward alone. If this message confirms what your spirit has been sensing, respond in agreement. Type "I walk in authority" in the comments if this resonates deeply. Blessing code 8181 has now been activated over those stepping into stabilizing influence. And as this authority expands, understand the mission attached to it. When you sow into the spreading of these prophetic alerts through Super Thanks membership, with a PayPal link in the description, you are helping light travel farther than your own voice can reach. God declares, "Those who water others will themselves be watered," and that promise breathes over you right now. This is not about supporting a channel. It is about fueling a river of clarity for souls standing at their own thresholds. I sense a holy urgency in this moment. Your action becomes agreement with heaven's movement. As you give, you align with protection and provision. Step forward in obedience and release your support now. Steadfast spirit, Now that authority has been acknowledged, the final layer of understanding must unfold. When spiritual authority increases, visibility increases, and visibility changes dynamics. People who once overlooked you will begin to observe you more closely. Some will admire you openly. Others will study you quietly. But attention, whether positive or cautious, is a sign that movement has occurred. This is why the whisper last night carried tension. It sensed visibility rising. You are no longer hidden in preparation. You are emerging into recognition. Not necessarily public fame, but relational significance. Your decisions will influence outcomes. Your consistency will shape expectations. Your presence will alter direction. But here is what many fail to understand. Increased authority requires increased emotional discipline. There will be moments soon where you could assert yourself strongly and be justified. You could correct someone sharply and be right. You could expose inconsistency and win the argument. But the question is not whether you can. The question is whether you should. Archangel Michael's protection is strongest around those who operate with restraint. Authority does not shout to prove itself. It stands firm and lets truth surface naturally. There is also a test connected to recognition. When people begin to value your insight, pride tries to attach itself quietly. Pride does not always appear as arrogance. Sometimes it appears as subtle superiority. A quiet thought that says, I see what others don't. Guard against that. Humility keeps authority clean. The whisper failed because you did not respond emotionally. Now the next phase tests whether you can remain grounded while being acknowledged. You may notice opportunities opening faster, replies coming quicker, doors responding differently. Do not rush. Move with intention. Not every open door is your assignment. Some are simply confirmation that your capacity has grown. Discernment will be crucial here. There is someone in your circle who will approach you differently soon. They may seek advice. They may ask for collaboration. They may show respect. Observe carefully. Is this alignment or convenience? Is this genuine recognition or strategic proximity? Not everyone who notices your growth should gain access to your inner circle. Archangel Michael guards your boundaries, but you must enforce them wisely. There is also a financial decision approaching that will reflect your maturity. It may involve investment, commitment, or long-term planning. A whisper attempted to weaken your clarity before this moment. But you have stabilized. Trust measured thinking. Avoid impulsive commitments. Peace will confirm timing. Emotion should never drive major decisions in this season. You are stepping into a phase where your life becomes structured differently. Time management will matter more. Priorities will shift. Distractions that once entertained you will feel draining. This is not boredom. It is evolution. Some relationships may naturally distance themselves. Do not chase them. When growth happens, alignment recalibrates. What once fit may no longer connect smoothly. Let transitions occur without resentment. Remember, this elevation is not about superiority. It is about stewardship. You are being entrusted with clarity. Clarity must be protected from chaos. There may also be a moment of subtle temptation to return to something comfortable but limiting. An old habit, a former dynamic, a nostalgic pattern. It will feel familiar. But familiarity does not equal alignment. The whisper last night was tied to familiarity. It attempted to anchor you to what once defined you. But you have moved forward. As authority increases, accountability increases. Watch your private habits. Maintain discipline in small areas. Consistency in unseen places strengthens credibility in visible ones. Archangel Michael stands beside those who honor integrity even when no one is watching. The final stage of this transition is approaching. A confirmation will appear soon. It may come through a message, a meeting, or a sudden opportunity. And when it arrives, you will recognize the peace attached to it. This is not the end of testing. It is the beginning of stable advancement. The whisper was a warning of resistance. But resistance has lost its leverage. Remain calm. Remain focused. Remain disciplined. What comes next will reveal why your name was spoken in darkness, and why heaven responded immediately. And when the full picture becomes visible, you will see that this was never about threat. It was about transformation. Determined soul, you are now standing at the edge of manifestation. Everything that has been building internally is about to express itself externally. The whisper that once carried your name in darkness has lost its influence completely, but the reason it was released in the first place is about to become clear in practical form. The confirmation is approaching. It may come as an offer you did not expect so soon. It may come as approval that seemed delayed. It may come as reconciliation where tension once existed. Or it may come as a sudden realization that shifts your entire perspective. However it arrives, it will carry a quiet certainty. Not excitement mixed with anxiety, but confidence wrapped in peace. That peace will be your sign. Archangel Michael's role in this final stage is to guard the transition from preparation into manifestation. Many people falter not in preparation, but in manifestation. When the door actually opens, fear of responsibility can surface. Doubt can reappear in subtle forms. Questions can rise like, am I truly ready? Or what if I fail? These thoughts are not evidence of incapability. They are echoes of your former identity trying to remain relevant. But you have outgrown that version of yourself. The whisper that spoke your name attempted to amplify those old doubts before this door appeared. Now that the door is forming, you must not entertain hesitation. Walk steadily. Respond thoughtfully. But do not retreat. There will be a moment very soon where you feel the need to decide quickly. Pressure may attempt to rush you. Do not allow urgency to override discernment. Even in manifestation, patience is strength. Take a breath before you respond. Let your answer come from alignment, not adrenaline. This season also requires visible consistency. Show up fully. If you have been delaying something important, complete it. If you have been avoiding a conversation that requires clarity, handle it with calm authority. Finish what you start. Stability now determines sustainability later. You may notice that people are observing you more carefully. Some are evaluating whether your growth is temporary or permanent. Let your actions speak. You do not need to defend your transformation. Live it. Archangel Michael reinforces those who act with courage under observation. There is also a spiritual layer to this manifestation. The door opening is not only about success, it is about positioning you where your voice will matter more. A platform may increase. Influence may expand. Responsibilities may grow. And with it comes greater need for discipline in private life. Guard your routines. Protect your focus. Do not allow new opportunities to disrupt the habits that built you. If this message is aligning deeply with what you are sensing in your own life, respond boldly. Like this video as a declaration that you are stepping into manifestation without fear. Share it with someone standing at their own threshold. Comment your agreement below, because your words anchor your courage. Subscribe if you have not already, so you remain connected to these timely alerts. When you engage, you strengthen this mission, and amplify clarity for others who need warning before their own transition arrives. And hear this clearly. There will be a final attempt to test your emotional stability before full confirmation lands. It may be subtle criticism. It may be unexpected delay. It may be someone questioning your readiness. Do not internalize it. Tests at this stage are brief. The whisper has no authority left. You have been stabilized, disciplined, refined, and alerted in advance. Now you are stepping forward. The next revelation will close this entire cycle and reveal why heaven responded the moment your name was spoken. It will also clarify what your continued obedience secures from this point forward. Remain steady. The door is no longer forming. It is opening. Resilient heart. This is where the full circle begins to close. The moment your name was whispered in darkness was never about destruction. It was about detection. It was a signal that your life had reached a level of impact that could no longer remain unnoticed. And when something valuable is detected, heaven responds before harm can form. Now the manifestation has begun. You may already sense it. Conversations feel different. Opportunities carry more weight. Even your internal dialogue has shifted. You no longer speak to yourself the same way. You no longer tolerate certain thoughts. You no longer entertain the same fears. That is not coincidence. That is confirmation that transformation has taken root. The whisper was an attempt to interrupt your awareness before this stage. But instead of interruption, you receive preparation. Archangel Michael stands not only at the beginning of battles but at the completion of transitions. His assignment in your life during this season hath been to guard identity, because identity determines trajectory. And if your identity had been shaken, your direction could have shifted. But it did not. Now you are moving with a steadiness that did not exist before. Decisions feel less chaotic. Reactions feel more measured. Even your silence feels intentional. This is maturity settling in. There is something else becoming clear now. The door that opened is not just a singular opportunity. It is a gateway into a pattern of elevation. Once you step fully through it, you will notice momentum increasing in multiple areas at once. Progress will feel connected rather than scattered. But connection requires continued discipline. Do not allow early success to relax your boundaries. The whisper may have failed, but complacency is always waiting quietly. Stay vigilant in small habits. Remain intentional with your time. Protect your mental space from unnecessary noise. There is also relational revelation approaching. Someone will reveal their true position in your life through action, not words. Pay attention to consistency. Words can flatter, but patterns expose truth. This revelation will not shock you. It will confirm what you already sensed. Archangel Michael strengthens discernment, not suspicion. Let truth surface naturally. You may also feel a deeper spiritual awareness in this stage. Prayer may feel clearer. Intuition may feel sharper. Dreams may carry symbolism. This is not random sensitivity. It is alignment increasing. The whisper was the final echo of an outdated season. Now you are operating from clarity rather than confusion. There will be moments ahead where you reflect on who you used to be and feel gratitude rather than regret. Growth does that. It replaces shame with wisdom. It replaces insecurity with understanding. But remember this, elevation is not exemption from testing. It is advancement into higher-level responsibility. Future challenges will not resemble past ones. They will require new forms of courage. But you will not face them unprepared. You have been trained quietly, and training produces stability. The atmosphere around you has changed because you have changed. What once intimidated you now instructs you. What once distracted you now bores you. What once strained you now exposes itself quickly. That is spiritual maturity. The whisper that carried your name has dissolved completely. What remains is clarity about why it happened. It was confirmation that your life matters in ways you could not fully see. Not because you are perfect, but because you are positioned. The final revelation is approaching. It will explain what your continued obedience secures, not just in this season, but in the long term. It will reveal why ignoring this alert would have been costly, and it will seal this entire transition with understanding. Remain steady. You are no longer at the edge. You are inside the shift. Victorious soul, this is the moment where everything becomes clear. When your name was whispered in a place of darkness that night, it was never about your destruction. It was about your distinction. The whisper marked you as someone crossing into new territory, and heaven responded immediately because what you carry is not casual. Now you understand. If you had ignored the alert, you might have stepped into this new season unconsciously. You might have allowed subtle doubt to influence critical decisions. You might have reopened doors that were meant to stay closed. You might have reacted emotionally at the wrong moment and delayed your own elevation. But you did not. You listened. You stabilized. You chose awareness over distraction. And because of that, what comes next will not be stopped. The phrase that once sounded like a warning has now become a promise. What comes next will not be stopped. Not by whispers, not by subtle resistance, not by old patterns. Because you responded before manifestation. Archangel Michael was sent not to frighten you, but to fortify you. His presence in this season signified that you were stepping into something weighty. Protection increased because responsibility increased. And now you are positioned differently. Look at yourself honestly. You are not the same person who first heard that title. Your thinking has sharpened. Your reactions have matured. Your discernment has strengthened. Even your posture in life feels more grounded. That is transformation. The door that opened was not just opportunity. It was confirmation that heaven trusted you with more. And trust from God is not random. It is earned through obedience in moments when no one else sees. You were tested quietly. You were observed silently. You were evaluated spiritually. And you were found ready. The whisper was the final attempt of a closing season. It was the echo of a former environment trying to maintain relevance. But when light exposed it, it lost power. And now you move forward without its shadow. There will still be challenges ahead. Growth does not eliminate opposition. But now you understand something deeper. Opposition is not proof of vulnerability. It is proof of value. Archangel Michael will not disappear from your journey. His assignment shifts as you advance. Where once he guarded you from subtle interference, now he stands as reinforcement for visible influence. You are not merely protected. You are positioned. And what comes next carries legacy. Your decisions from this point forward will affect more than just your immediate comfort. They will shape patterns for others watching. They will inspire courage in those who feel unseen. They will break cycles that once felt permanent. This is why the whisper was urgent. This is why heaven intervened. And this is why your obedience mattered. Take a moment and breathe in the weight of that truth. You were never randomly warned. You were strategically covered. If this entire journey has spoken directly to your spirit, respond in faith. Type "I step into my next season" in the comments if you receive this fully. Blessing code 9090 is now released over those who walk forward in protected authority and refuse to return to old cycles. And now hear this as a sacred extension of everything you have just experienced. The same God who saw your name whispered in darkness is still watching over every soul who finds this message. When you release a super thanks, join membership, or so through the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing light into places where names are still being whispered without awareness. The Lord declares, "Those who sow in tears will reap in joy," and I speak that living promise over you now. As you give, you become part of the shield that warns, protects, and awakens others before interference forms. I feel this strongly. Your action today is not a donation. It is a prophetic agreement with heaven's mission. Let your seed become oil that keeps this fire burning. Obey the prompting and activate your support now. The whisper has ended. Your authority has begun.